we're back from break. We're joined now by a guest who really needs no introduction for our audience, but he is the former sheriff of Graham County, Arizona, and you know him better as Sheriff Richard Mack. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Hey, Aaron. Good to be with you
again.
Yeah, so no Alex, huh?
Well, Alex is on the road. He just spoke in Dallas last Sunday, and then he's going to be speaking in Orlando this Sunday.
Well, I'm glad he's keeping busy. You know, good job.
Yeah, he's reaching out, and we're trying to make this awakening happen.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be shocked if he's busier than I am.
Yes, sir.
But I'm glad he's busy. So.
Well, tell us what all you're up to, because it's quite a bit.
Well, as you know, we just completed our first Constitutional Sheriff Convention in Las Vegas, and that was January 30th. And I'm going to tell you, it was just an absolute resounding success. It couldn't have been better. I guess the only way it could have been better is if instead of having 90 sheriffs that we would have had 150 or 200. We did a grassroots effort to raise the money for this event. We paid for all the sheriffs' travel expenses. We paid for the hotel. We paid for their food. And the people all across America made that happen for us. And now, absolutely, we want to have another one, and we're planning to have another one. And what this convention did for all of us, including the sheriffs that were there, it proved this works. Yeah. It absolutely proved that what we're doing is legitimate. And I mean, here we have the Denver Post article about it. And what is the headline? Emerging movement encourages sheriffs to act as a shield against federal tyranny. And people want to call that crazy or radical.
Couldn't be more constitutional.
It's absolutely constitutional. It's American, for God's sakes. Nobody should do anything about tyranny. Just let the federal government do whatever they're going to do. Right now, we have the EPA shutting down land, and this was part of our presentation. The Sackett family in Idaho was fined $32,500 a day. And you know why? Because they were making a foundation to build a home on their own property. Building a home on their own property.
Yeah. And
now we have Amish farmers in Indiana and Ohio and Pennsylvania, Maryland, and where I just came back from, Wisconsin. And I was talking to one sheriff about it and another reporter. He says, well, one of those guys you were talking about, you called Amish, he's not Amish anymore. And I said, well, his fundamental beliefs are, but I don't care if he's atheist.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter what church you belong to. The thing that I like to bring up about that some of them are Amish that they're going after, and indeed the FDA was going after David Hostetler in Indiana because he wouldn't pasteurize his milk. I find it so astonishingly hypocritical and corrupt that our country, our government brags, we don't arrest you anymore for failing to get to the back of the bus. We don't arrest you anymore for not giving your seat to a white man. Oh, yeah, but we will arrest you for not pasteurizing your milk. You know, and again, I don't care what religion any American is. I don't care what your personal beliefs are. In America, we don't do that. And that you don't get the proper license. But the problem with part of this is that one of the Amish farmers had allowed the FDA to come on his property and do an inspection several times. And he passed the inspection with flying colors.
You know, we've got this here just to bring up as a bypass. The Queen has been caught loving raw milk, but she won't let Canadians drink it. We're not supposed to drink it here. I've been drinking raw milk. I think it's really good for you. It's got all the amino acids in there. And
it is really good for you. And the thing of it is, I flew out to Madison, Wisconsin to drink milk with Max Kane and Vernon Hershberger. And Max Kane is not Amish, but Vernon Hershberger grew up Amish, and he's left some of the Amish traditions. Like he will drive a car, and he does have a computer and stuff like that. But his fundamental beliefs are still Amish. And he has a wonderful family, and I went to his farm. But as I said, I went all the way out from Arizona, and I live in Texas now, as you know. But this was a year and a half ago when I still lived in Arizona. Flew all the way out, had never met Vernon Hershberger or Max Kane, went to the state capitol steps and drank illegal contraband.
We've got it on screen right now.
There it is. There I am drinking raw milk with Vernon Hershberger and Max Kane, and breaking the law on the state capitol steps. And I went all the way from Arizona to Wisconsin to drink raw milk. And you know what? I hate milk.
Yeah.
I don't even like milk, never have. This is the first time my children, who are all adults, my oldest is 36, and this is the first time ever my kids have seen me drink a glass of milk.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, you are correct. Raw milk tastes better than store-bought milk, than pasteurized milk.
Oh, there's no question.
It's 10 times better for you.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but of course the FDA now wants to shut them down, and actually the one in Wisconsin is the state government. The state government is now trying to put Vernon Hershberger in jail because he will not pasteurize his milk. This is a farm that's been in their family for a long time, and all this is they feed cows grass. That's it. Grass.
Yeah.
Only grass.
Very
That's
dangerous.
it.
Very dangerous.
Not corn. Oh yeah, I know. And then they take the milk and put it in some containers right from the cows, and they provide it to some of their friends and family members and neighbors, you know, friends and neighbors. And we want to put them in jail for that.
But that's why we had to bring back the conversation about the Constitution, because it's Alice in Wonderland otherwise. I mean, what do you think about the whole GMO issue? They're doing all this lab-made food, so-called, and they won't even label it, and they're fast-tracking that stuff, but they're shutting down organic food conventions in Nevada, and because it's not an isolated case with the Amish. It's lemonade stands. It's everything.
Lemonade stands, exactly. You know, the 7-year-old girl in California got arrested or something, or charged or fined, ticketed by cops because she wasn't licensed to do lemonade. And I'm going to tell you right now, every chance I get, I drink raw milk and use raw cheese and other raw dairy products. And when I was out in Wisconsin, I'm just talking 2 weeks ago, I was out there on the Hershberger farm, and I had an entire meal twice with products just from his farm. Everything right from his farm. Organic. His family, all his children help with the processing of the farm, work on the farm. I've never seen more well-adjusted children, happier children, healthier children, a good American family. And what are they getting? Threats from our government to go to jail. And we're going to destroy their farm, we're going to destroy their land, we're going to destroy their family as much as we possibly can. And quite frankly, a lot of what my book is about is that very issue, the magic of gun control. It sounds like I'm only talking about gun control, but quite frankly, I'm talking about all the abuses going on. There's magic in our government. Only our government can keep us safe.
Exactly.
Only gun control can keep us safe. And world history has taught us that all that is a big farce. So you have to believe, if you're going to believe today's politicians, you have to believe that there's magic.
Yeah.
You know? And quite frankly, the book points out, I invented a new word for the book, polymagician.
Yeah.
And a polymagician is, of course, an illusionist and a politician put together. So polymagician. So you got to go to sheriffmack.com to get the book.
An illusionist for the many or the masses.
And yeah. So it talks about the food freedom, and everybody should be just simply saying, let's live and let live in this country. I don't know why our government doesn't go by that one simple rule. Live and let live. If I'm not hurting anybody else, and of course these Amish farmers would never hurt anybody. They're completely the most peaceful people on the face of the planet. Good, honest American people. And of course, what does our government do? Our government hasn't got one simple thing straight for a long time. Leave people alone. Government has to leave me alone unless I'm hurting someone else. Which brings us to, when I say polymagician, I naturally think of Lamar Smith.
And there's going to be an interesting race there. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, now I moved to Texas not even quite a year ago. Mm-hmm. And as I told Alex before on our last show, I didn't move to Texas to run for anything. I just wanted to move to Texas to concentrate on the constitutional sheriff movement.
Right.
And as the Denver Post pointed out, it is a movement. It's an emerging movement. And it is. And it is a successful one. And it is a powerful one. And one of the sheriffs from Oregon said that some of the sheriffs out in the West and in Oregon told him not to attend because our convention was going to be too radical. And this sheriff came up and told him, shook my hand and said, hey, you know, I was told not to come to this because it was too radical. And he said, there's nothing radical here. This is just America.
Yeah, the Denver Post, it wasn't really a bad article, but they kind of made it sound like, oh, it's scary that citizens are asking their sheriffs to attend this event and telling them they're not going to vote for them if they don't want to be constitutional.
Oh, man, you don't want to do that.
Right.
You see, a constituent doesn't have the right to do that.
And we've got some of the photos on the screen, by the way.
Now, that's Peggy Littleton and her county sheriff. Peggy Littleton is a county commissioner from Colorado. Mm-hmm. Sheriff Makita is standing there next to her, and he's her county sheriff. They are working together to oppose and nullify the NDAA, actually trying to protect their citizens in tandem, which in my book I say, there's an equation in my book, a constitutional county commissioner plus a constitutional sheriff equals liberty. And that's all we're talking about. And let's make a point very clear here. I have never advocated violence against the federal government.
Of course.
And I will never. And now I'm suing the Southern Poverty Law Center, as you're very much aware.
Right.
Because they said I did. And that has caused a great deal of damage towards me and what I'm trying to do, because all their publications get out all over the country to law enforcement agencies. And in fact, Time magazine even said that I said that, and I guess they were quoting the Southern Poverty Law Center. Well, I'm plain and simply not going to put up with it anymore. The Southern Poverty Law Center is such a dishonest organization, and they've lied about me since 1994. When all of a sudden I'm so shocked that I'm in these books from Morris Dees and the Southern Poverty Law Center, that I'm some horrible threat and terrorist. And do you know all that I did to gain that honor?
You didn't believe in the magic.
I did not believe in the magic. And, all I did was file a lawsuit against the Clinton administration to stop the Brady Bill, because the federal government wanted to force me into compliance and to go along with their idiotic, stupid mandates to comply with the Brady Bill. And I just simply said, the federal government can't tell me what to do. Is that so hard? Is that so wrong? That makes me a terrorist because I don't want to go along with the Clinton administration and this ridiculous violation of the Constitution known as the Brady Bill.
And that went all the way to the Supreme Court, and you beat him.
And I beat him. Yeah.
And so Lamar Smith better know you're a fighter, and people know about his tyranny. People are waking up, and it's those kind of people in Congress whose time have come, I think.
Yeah, and you know, quite frankly, let's look at all the things that Lamar Smith has done. He voted for the Patriot Act. He voted for the NDAA. He believed, in fact, as a Republican, he has given the ultimate power to the worst president in American history, to Barack Obama, and has taken us full circle. That's exactly what King George III was doing.
Yeah.
So we've come full circle. And who gave Barack Obama now the power to use military against American citizens without any recourse, no habeas corpus, no Bill of Rights, no nothing, no trials, no charges even filed against people? They can just say you're an enemy combatant, you're a terrorist, we're putting you away. And so this is what Lamar Smith has done. And now he wants to come back to District 21 in Texas, which is between Austin and San Antonio and all the counties in between. He wants to come back and say, what a hero I am, you know? Yeah, I believe in all these spendings, and I believe in SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act. He wants now to have the federal government regulate the internet, and you know why they want to do that. They want to tax it to death and tax it out of existence, but they can't balance the budget. This is another thing Congress has failed at. They've now gone over 1,000 days without establishing a budget, so they've broken the law there, haven't done their job. And isn't it amazing? You remember Martha Stewart, why she went to prison?
Insider trading. I think.
Insider trading.
She must have been really bad.
Oh my gosh. Went to prison for 6 months. And yet now the newspapers report that Lamar Smith has done the exact same thing. In fact, even worse. He actually worked on a committee in Washington, D.C. to get a company, a private company, a contract with the federal government. A few days before that was official, he invested in that company. And I wouldn't say I didn't make any of this up. I just read the newspapers, just like anybody else can do. And so the newspaper asked him about that, and he said, well, my broker did it. It was just a coincidence. All 5 times. 5 times he invested in that same company. Now he's making thousands using his position, my dear friends, using his position to make money off the backs of these kinds of deals.
Well, insider trading.
Insider trading.
Doesn't that come closer to racketeering? Or
It is. It is. It should be illegal. And they even suggested that they should make it illegal. And of course, Lamar Smith opposed that. This is what happens when we have career politicians. This is what happens when people stay in Washington, D.C. too long. And I will not do that. First of all, my record speaks for itself. I will follow the Constitution, and anybody wants to help out with this campaign, we really need your help. Just go to, and this is a great one. I love this line, sheriffmackforcongress.com. You know, and I love telling Lamar Smith, hey, I'm coming to Washington. There's a new sheriff in town. And so,
the tagline's ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like saying, Mr. Smith, instead of going to Mr. Smith goes to Washington, Mr. Smith, get out of Washington. And I'm a go candidate.
Goes home from Washington.
Get out of our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, get out of our house.
Well, he's not the only one. There's a lot of people who need to leave Washington.
Well, and Go is trying to go after a lot of them. And I'm glad you said that because, yeah, we need to get rid of all the incumbents. I have a bumper sticker that says, re-elect no one. And that's really how I feel. And I'm here to tell you and everybody else, I will not stay over 8 years. That's it. Yeah. 8 years was good enough for George Washington. It should be good enough for Lamar Smith and everybody else. And the Founding Fathers never intended that we'd have career politicians destroying our country. And I do mean that. Now, James Madison, in my book, I quote Madison, and he says that the American people will lose more freedom from those in power than by any sudden war or attack from a foreign enemy. This is where we're at today. Our own government and our own leaders destroying our Constitution, trampling the principles of freedom that our country was founded upon. Why don't we hold them accountable for this? You know, and quite frankly, it's not a political thing, it's not a Democrat thing, it's not a Republican thing. We've got to stand on principle in this country. We've got to stand for the Constitution. If we're not going to do that, then what makes us any better than anybody else that's in jail? Yeah.
And Sheriff, let's talk more about the NDAA, because I know you've studied history. You know about Soviet Russia and China and the Stasi in East Germany. And isn't Homeland Security and the NDAA moving us all dangerously close to those trends? It's just classical tyranny, and they think they're going to bring that down on this country. And I don't know if people are talking enough about NDAA, but we've got states saying no, passing bills saying they're not going to go along with it.
Right.
You've already talked about the people at the county level.
Right.
Let's talk some more about that.
Well, it was a big part of our Constitutional Sheriff Convention. The NDAA came up frequently, and that our federal government could be so blatant and open about such a horrible violation of the Constitution. This is basically our own government declaring war on our own Bill of Rights, declaring war on freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
And it all falls in. I mean, you're talking about GMOs. I mean, all the corn in this country right now is GMO.
Yeah.
You know, genetically modified corn, all of it. And I've even had farmers who aren't really too concerned about that. He says, oh yeah, Monsanto owns all our corn and all our farms, and they tell us how to do this GMO corn, and that's what we do. So Agenda 21 was another big thing that we talked about at our convention. And I have to tell you too, though, the entire convention started with a film that I put together that simply showed all the abuses going on in America. Mm-hmm. Then we went right into Michael Badnarik's 1-hour review of the Bill of Rights. And then I did a half-hour deal on my Supreme Court case that you were just talking about, and how that restores the 10th Amendment and state sovereignty. And so right after that, we went to a break, and I had a sheriff from Texas come up to me, and he said, Sheriff, I've got to tell you something. I was really wondering about coming to this convention. And he put his hands up to his face and goes like this, "You got me." And, you know, I was so thrilled with that. And I said, you know what? The spirit of freedom was so strong in that room, you could cut it with a knife. And it was obvious that this sheriff felt it. He knew what he was talking about. He knew what he had felt. And here he comes now with a complete, almost like a testimonial, saying, "You got me. It worked. Whatever you had here." And we'd only been into the conference 2.5 hours. This thing went all day. It started at 7:30 in the morning and went till 9:30 at night.
Now, could people not in law enforcement see these films too? Because this sounds like a good resource.
Yes, you can, and you can get all this at the countysheriffproject.org or go to sheriffmack.com. And again, sheriffmack.com is where you can get the new book, The Magic of Gun Control. But really, and anybody who would like to help with the campaign, if you want to see me get this, what would you call him, a rhino Republican or unconstitutional congressman out of office, the guy who helped get the NDAA in, and Mr. Lamar Sopa Smith, that's what we call him now, Lamar Sopa Smith, who wants the federal government to regulate the internet. If any of you are in favor of that and you want the federal government to force companies to, just like yours here even, to keep track of all your clients and customers and to keep a list for the FBI to come check anytime they want. That's what they want to do.
And they want to chill free speech too.
Yeah, of course, of course. And so if you want to stop all that, help me out at sheriffmackforcongress.com. sheriffmackforcongress.com. And we'll take back America again. I still believe, more than anything, as I've said here on this program before, that the best way to take America back is county by county, state by state, sheriff by sheriff, county commissioners working together with sheriffs to defend the United States Constitution and my personal and your personal God-given rights.
But this is all about the 10th Amendment. Governments always go out of control, and it's always because of centralized power. Right. That's why the founders wanted as many checks and balances at every level as they could, and that's what you're doing here. You started with 90 sheriffs out of, what, 3,000?
Correct.
Isn't that close to 3%? Isn't that what we had in the Revolutionary
War? Yeah.
So I'd say that's a good start.
But I'll tell you, this is going to expand, and a lot the sheriffs who were there, as you can see the quotes from the sheriffs in Denver and Colorado, they really liked it. And of course, you know, there's a sheriff saying, I don't want violence against other law enforcement offices. Well, we don't either.
Obviously.
But you know, you want to guarantee that not happening? Do you want to guarantee, anybody here listening to the program, anybody at Infowars.com, do you want to guarantee that that won't happen? Then get your sheriff involved in the process, and I'll guarantee that we'll keep this peaceful.
Right.
Okay? That'll make it happen. And we had 90 sheriffs who are witnesses now that we are not asking for violence. We are trying to find a way to prevent it. And in fact, you want to go through history? Rosa Parks was arrested by people who had badges on. Rosa Parks should have been taken home by those two officers, not to jail.
Right.
Oh, you mean don't enforce the law? That's exactly what I mean. When the law becomes destructive of freedom and liberty, we got to have sheriffs and peace officers and deputies and county commissioners who stand against stupid laws. That's what I'm about. And now tell me which one is more correct. Which one keeps the peace? Protecting Rosa Parks and escorting her home, or sending her to jail? Well, that's what they want to do with us today. Our government has never stopped putting people at the back of the bus. They just go from one group to another. Gun owners, I'm afraid, are going to be next on the Obama agenda. If Obama gets elected, you better grab your guns and your Bible, because he's coming after them. And my book, The Magic of Gun Control, definitely bears that out. The whole entire Fast and Furious thing, that's all it was about, was more gun control. It was not about sending guns to Mexico. It was about gun control. They wanted to create such an uproar to show that these guns are coming from Arizona gun shops and Arizona gun shows down to the cartels. The federal government staged that whole thing so that we could get more gun control going in America. It blew up in their face because Agent John Dodson whistle blew on them, and here we go again. And of course, Agent Brian Terry loses his life in this thing. This was an operation called Fast and Furious. Folks, you help me get to Washington, D.C., I'll show you Fast and Furious. We'll cut so many departments, including the VATF, your head will spin. You want Fast and Furious in Washington, D.C.? Sheriff Mack for Congress.
Well, I like what you have to say about the magic quip, because they just want us to transfer all the power behind the Wizard of Oz's curtain.
Exactly.
And just
I like
trust
that.
him,
You
right?
got it.
I mean,
Yeah, you got it, Aaron. That's exactly right. This exposes the men behind the curtain.
I mean, who do they think we are? Who do we think they are? We know what they're doing up there.
Yeah, very good. I like that.
So, yeah, we do have to put a balance of power back, and obviously it does start at the county and state level. So,
Well, my case says that. I'm glad you brought balance of power, because Justice Scalia, in our Supreme Court victory, he actually said that the solution to all of this is simply maintaining a healthy balance of power between the states and the federal government.
yeah.
So that's all we're after. We're not after hurting anybody or destroying anybody. Yeah, we want government off our backs. We want the federal government to be responsible, and we want to cut the federal bureaucracies. That's it. Now, the federal government has already proved they won't do that. So what's the only answer left? State sovereignty. The states have to do it. And so there's nothing radical, there's nothing subversive about it, there's nothing illegal, unlawful, or violent. This is an effective means exercising a peaceful solution to a horrible problem that the federal government has caused once again. There's a big shocker.
Unlawful. These people run with a gang of criminals who've said they want to do an end run around the Constitution. That's not unlawful.
Well, yeah, and Nancy Pelosi has said it, and many other congressmen have said, and including Lamar Smith, said, "Oh, the Constitution's just up for personal interpretation, or it's a guidelines, but there's nothing express in it, and it's a living document, and basically Congress can still do whatever it wants."
Nothing expressed with enumerated powers and guaranteed explicit rights, and yeah.
And even Scalia says that word in my decision. He said that the 10th Amendment and the enumeration of powers, the discrete and enumerated powers granted to the federal government, are rendered express by the 10th Amendment. So it is expressly forbidden that the federal government go outside Article 1, Section 8. That's what they ought to call our movement, Article 1, Section 8.
This guy knows about the Constitution. Obviously, people like Lamar Smith do not. No. How do we help you in the campaign? When is the election? What are the things people need to know about that?
Well, they keep moving the primary, which is totally helping me because of this ridiculous thing going on with the redistricting here in Texas. Mm-hmm. And so that's actually helping me. It was going to be March 3rd, which I didn't have enough time because I barely got into this.
Right.
But now they've moved it back to the last part of April and maybe even May or June. It could even go into August if the fighting between the Democrats and Republicans continue on the redistricting issue. That's all helping me. It's playing into my hands. And so, folks, if you can, make a donation or whatever you can at sheriffmackforcongress.com. sheriffmackforcongress.com. We need volunteers. Again, anybody who would like to help, just get a hold of us at sheriffmack@hotmail.com, or you can email. There's an email also available at sheriffmackforcongress.com. I love that Back Mack bumper sticker, Back Mack.
Back Mack, yeah.
Yeah, Back Mack.
Return to the Mack.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be great, too, to force a debate on topics like the NDAA, the SOPA bills, all this stuff. They need to speak out about the stuff they're voting
Lamar
for.
Smith won't debate me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys ought to call him and say, we want to have a debate with you and Sheriff Mack.
That would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, well, call him. Say,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we're supporting you over here.
Thanks a lot, Aaron. Appreciate you, brother.
You too. Thank you, sir. Good to have you. And that's it for the nightly news. We'll, of course, be back tomorrow. Alex, again, speaking this Sunday in Orlando, Florida. I don't even know if tickets are still available. I'm sure they'll tell me in there. But check it out. Show up anyway and help support this broadcast if you can. We depend on subscribers. We'll talk to you later.